Davis, and you're watching the Evercade Effect.
Evercade Effect.
Hello everybody, it's once again time to do one of these chat and chill kind of videos where I play a game and I give some deep thoughts about a topic relating to video gaming and Evercade and all that good stuff. And if this is your first time watching this video, just note that I occasionally do these, just talk about something either personal about myself or something that I feel my audience would want to know. And so today we're going to be playing Sly Spy. I really do like the Data East collection. Last time I played Bad Dudes. And this is a topic that I want to talk about, and it's kind of like why I don't play MMOs anymore. Why haven't I played them for a long time, and why I choose to play Evercade, single player games and retro games like this. I just want to say, if you are into MMOs and you enjoy MMOs, that's totally cool. That's totally cool. I support that. Just a little disclaimer that I'm going to be honest. I'm going to be respectful. But if you can't handle that, you should stop the video. Alright, so with that said, and with that out of the way, let's go ahead, let's pop in a few credits, let's play this game. Let me take a sip of my coffee here. Oh man, I don't know, a code? 007, I guess. 777, I don't know, whatever. That's fine. Okay, so back to the topic at hand. So let's first start off with when I first played MMOs and I first really started to get into them. So I can tell you that World of Warcraft, the original OG one that came out like 2003. That was really the first MMO that I played. I even played that before EverQuest and anything else. And I'm just gonna hit on the main MMOs. I'm not going to go to every little one. I played all the mainstream MMOs that have come out maybe over the last 20 or so years. Like most of them, not all of them, and even a bunch of your obscure ones. But I'm going to focus on the main one. So if you kind of remember back then, early 2000s, it was just neat. World of Warcraft, it ran on everything. It really tied in nostalgically to the original Warcraft game itself. And it was just very cool to go and, play with buddies and all that. Just something totally different than even doing Diablo multiplayer or anything else. So I played that off and on, many times. Always rolling tons of new characters. I had that problem like a lot of people. Being called an altaholic, making just tons of different characters. And for me, it was just kind of about the journey. It was more fun than getting to the end itself. And joined all kinds of guilds, played all kinds of things. I think I played up until that first expansion where you could be at the Draenei and Blood Elves and all that. And when I initially did play World of Warcraft, it was back when it was difficult, right? It was even difficult to solo everything. It was actually a really challenging game. Before they added in all types of stuff you could pay for before it became free to play. This was an era where you paid your $15 a month, and you got to play unlimited, no gimmicks. You just got to play the game. And so, I played Warcraft for a few years, and you have to forgive me, my timelines and everything. These are the Ed timelines, so things may be off. But I really just want to hit the main points of a few things. So we're gonna go through the history, and then and then it'll make sense. I promise it'll be worth it. So just bear with me here. So played that for a while. As I was saying, joined guilds, played with coworkers, and all that stuff. Then I got to a point where I got bored, and I remember Guild Wars was really popular at the time. That was kind of neat because you could I want to say each game was $20 or under $20, and you could buy them, and you permanently owned it, and there was no fee, because that's one thing that really did bother me about MMOs. I didn't like the fact of having to pay this monthly sub. Yeah, they'd say it was for maintenance and updates and all that, but I always really felt like I was renting a game, and I really, to me, I as time went on, and I'll talk about this more, I really didn't see the value of paying for a sub. It's just kind of more of why why would they sell you the game, flat out? But they sell you the game and you pay a monthly fee. So you're renting it and buying the game. But more on that later. So, some of my coffee here. So, Middle Wars is neat. Played through single player. Didn't really do too much multiplayer. It was different. Played that for a little bit and got bored. And then, yeah. I will say one of the main people that I did play with was Roy. And, somebody who I knew in real life and played games with and all that. And, anywho, so he actually introduced me to Vanguard. I think that was one of the next MMOs that I played. Maybe the people of EQ, but it was supposed to be like ahead of its time, new graphics, really different, really challenging actually. And I really liked that. Actually, really, really, really challenging. I hadn't played EverQuest, I don't think, at this point. And so this was just like very, very challenging, something new, all kinds of classes and races. It was incredible. Played that for a while, and then just, the kind of the reoccurring theme with MMOs, either there's something stupid that happened in the MMO that just broke and ruined the game for me by the creators of it, or I just got bored with it. So I think that one I got bored. And now another MMO that I played off and on, I might have played, maybe before that, was Lord of the Rings, right? And again, this was Lord of the Rings before it became super easy mode, before it became free to play. World of Warcraft was actually very challenging. It didn't have all the features of World of Warcraft, but it was just something different, and it was a lot of fun. And I played that for a while. Actually, I joined like a good guild, had lots of fun, made a bunch of alts, did eventually, get to end game. But then that was just a game where, and I did go back to that like later on, and it became like free to play, and there just wasn't enough there for me. See, that was kind of the problem, was that I'd get to the end of the game, or get to where you could start to do raiding and all that, and then the game would just get boring, and I just feel like there's not enough content, and the grind was kind of like the same thing. World of Warcraft had it really, really polished. At least you go, do the quest, do the thing, you had the different worlds, you had PvP, there was a lot more. I will say of all the MMOs, World of Warcraft had the most stuff to kind of keep you going and coming back. Come on! Sorry, that's what this boss says, but, saying, come on, move it along. So yeah, but it was just kind of a combination of that. And so I might have played that or jumped back before Vanguard, but then again, that was another MMO that was just fun for a time. I did go ahead and at some point try to play Modern EverQuest. It was fun for a little bit. Didn't really get into that too long. I could accept the graphics are different, but you could like mod the hell out of the interface. Similar to World of Warcraft, I was really into mods and all that. And again, it was fun. It was fun for a time. Going ahead and playing that. I even dabbled in EQ2, played some for a shorter time. But yeah, that just became real. It was just too much like modern EverQuest was just too much like World of Warcraft. I remember trying to go back to World of Warcraft, and it was a shell of a game of what it once was. It was just like way too easy, and that's the problem with a lot of these MMOs. They're just like way too easy. Now jumping forward, I did want to try Final Fantasy 14, but I think because they charged you, so a lot of these games when they charge you for the base game and for character slots and all that, like that's just like a really big turnoff. Now, what I did play for a while was Dungeons and Dragons Online. Was kind of neat because with that MMO, you didn't actually have to buy the game like some of these other ones. It was just like, hey, pay the monthly fee, and then you don't have to buy these like separate, these separate dungeons to unlock, right? You had access to everything. I had fun with that for like a long time. Tried permadeath, paid the $15 a month. But with that, then played tons of different classes. Oh my god, like that had like a lot of replay value. But then again, got to end game, and there was just like less to do. All right, and so kind of jumping around between all these MMOs, and then I'd have to also talk about. Oh, I almost forgot. So kind of through all this, I've had various different groups of people that I played with. And so let me go ahead and jump back. So like I said, Roy was somebody who I played on and off with kind of like his group of people, and like all the various EverQuests and different things. World of Warcraft. Still somebody who I keep in touch with. Really, actually, Roy, if you're watching this, I need to we need to catch up on things. But anyways, what was I saying in distracting myself here? Yes. Now, I wanted to talk about Star Wars. So, I'm sorry, before Star Wars, Warhammer. It's important to go to Warhammer. So there's this other group of people, um, and God, this is where you before Discord and all that. I can't even remember the names. We actually had to use like a separate chat host, but I had a small group of a few people. Met them online. They were a lot of fun, and Warhammer was really great because then I got into PvP. I had fun with it for a time. Oh my God, it was just like really fun. It was neat. Um, and I think after a while, they and again it was a small guild of maybe 5 or 6 people, but they played the game hardcore. They had and that game had different events, but then the problem was this was PvP focused. There wasn't much for quests. I think once you got to 20, it was like, okay, let's do PvP. But because of that, you know, that was the main thing. And they just like you had the two different warring factions, like the goblins and stuff, and the humans, and like the game became grossly imbalanced. Um, just not as much fun. Um, I like named like named my character like funny names like in different things, and I guess like at some point I kept pushing the limits on how far names, like I think dropping loads, that was a character that I made a name of, and some people saw that, and then when it became unfun was then somebody reported me in that game, and then all my names got banned, and then that was like the last thing that I had was like these fun, like these kind of like fun, it was like fun names, and they're like nope, and then I'm like screw this, and then that game went out of business, that game went under. They came out with like a Warhammer Light, which you had to like buy the characters. That was, that was fun. That was fun for that was fun for a while, and I would play things like Warframe and kind of games like that, like on and off. Like there were some other games. Sometimes were like little like indie games, not MMOs, but multiplayer. So kind of bouncing around, and then let me get back to Star Wars. So Star Wars, that game like had like the best story. It was fun playing a bounty hunter, going through the choices. Although admittedly, I really hated like that. Definitely was like what I call a single player MMO, for sure. Because you could play through the whole campaign and beat it by yourself, and they were also charging you per month, which is just nonsense, right? Had a lot of fun, played with people, got to the. It was one of the first games where I actually got to the end and I got to experience rating for the first time. And it was fun maybe for the first 5 times, and then it's like, yeah, it's more of this. And so that just wasn't, that just wasn't for me. That was just, it just got so boring. And so the thing that I learned, why I say I like the journey and not the end game, is it's fun developing characters, fun crafting, fun working towards stuff, and that game, Star Wars, fun stories. But then when you get to the end of the game, you're locked into a role, DPS tank or whatever, and then that's it. You're pretty much doing the same rinse and repeat over and over again. And I'm sorry, I just I got sick of it. And then you start to realize that there's little variations in quests. Go here, perform and do this. And I think that's what I wanted to point out. That's why I don't play a lot of AAA games, because a lot of AAA games have the same like GTA for example. Grand Theft Auto have the same. At least that's that's better story driven. But it's kind of like go here, do this quest. And they give you the illusion that you have kind of control over how you want to complete stuff. Like, Star Wars showed that to me. Even though it was a lot of fun, like at the end of the day, it was just kind of more like mental masturbation, if that makes sense. Like it was just kind of more fun picking your choices, but it really didn't matter. And that's kind of the problem. The MMOs is that I kind of have more of the illusion that it's just you have control. Like when you don't, it's all you're just going through the motions. You're going through the grind. Now a lot of them that's like a lot of the challenge is taken out of it, and maybe for some people that's great, but again for me, you can't see me drinking coffee here. It's not. So now what I want to get to, okay, so then there was a free EverQuest server called Project 9 in 1999. Again, I played with my buddy Roy, which kind of showed you what they went by the hardcore rules and all that, very very grindy, but it was something fun, and I got to kind of experience what EverQuest would have been like back then. So, here was kind of the turning point, the thing that really soured me from all MMOs, and getting to that. But it was the best time it was like the best time I ever had in video game history. Before I get into that, I almost forgot to mention for Star Wars, it was so popular and so much fun that they grossly underestimated how many people would play it. And I remember like you would like let's say like you'd have to wait like a couple hours to log in, so you'd queue up at 8 o'clock. Let's say like at night, I wanted to play later on, like after work before bedtime, and wait like 2 hours. So that was kind of the bad thing too, like playing that game. Like it's how much of in demand, having to never had a game where you'd actually have to wait, um, that long. And again, I'm leaving out a few other games like here and there, but I wanted to talk about the main points. So then with EverQuest, then what EverQuest did, actually Sony did, is they said, hey, we're going to take the best parts of EverQuest, not make it as tough as like something like the free 1999 server, but we're not going to make it like as easy as the modern EverQuest. We're gonna balance everything out. And so I was like, okay, and I think maybe that was maybe like $10 a month. I don't know, but it was worth paying for. And I remember I played that um, a lot, and I think I may have played a little bit with Roy. Yeah, I think I did, and I was part of a guild, and it was just neat because you could even have a role playing aspect of it, like to sell stuff. Like there wasn't an auction house, so you'd kind of walk around with your wares, and you could just kind of be like a shopkeeper type person. But I remember actually like playing, and then I met like this really cool group of people. And actually, so the funny thing is, like, you could just like sell anything for any price. And I could remember one guy wanting an item, and I said, "Hey, here's this other item." That I've got this item, but I was spoofing it, and he didn't even realize it. And I think I told him later, and then I like earned his respect. It was pretty cool. And they were like, they had higher level characters, and they would run our lower level characters through, and it was so much fun. But before that, though, I loved how everything was role based, right? Like I could like for me, I like to play the shaman because you weren't as, let's say, as heavy of a healer as a cleric, but you could like throw dots, damage over time on things, and you could help heal, and you could fulfill that role, and kind of do a little bit of crowd control. And it was great just being needed in a group like that. And it was better than the EverQuest 1999 because it was easier to get groups, and it was just so much fun. Like a +1 sword was actually powerful, kind of like those older items, and you could go to the older grinding spots. And yeah, like since like Roy, me and him would do that a lot, try to get these higher items to sell. And sometimes like there was like a lot of like bind on pickup items in that game. And so what you could do is you could like camp a beast, kill it, and then you could say, hey, if you want this, pay me for the loot right. So there was so many cool things. And then I said I went with those other group of guys. And but the problem though, I was a lot younger. That's why I said there's like 20, God no, like 15 years ago. Sorry. Before, maybe it was 20 years ago. I don't know, because my kiddo was 15, so it was before then. But I had a different job role at the time, but it wasn't as good though. Like being up till 4 o'clock in the morning, I was a lot younger, not getting as much sleep. Because that's the one problem with MMOs is that to really get into it and make progression, man, you're gonna get so sucked into it, and it's not it's not good. Um, but here is what burned my ass in the game. So after having all this fun, all these people and everything, having to earn stuff, somebody found an exploit in the game with using alchemy. Basically, what you could do is you could dupe items, and pretty much with that, when that happened, money was worthless. So let's say like if something like through grinding cost you like 1,000 platinum, now that was like 200,000 platinum. It was like that ridiculous. Money was worthless, and the whole point in EverQuest is to be able to get the loot, sell the loot. Unlike World of Warcraft, there's like a lot of like stuff that doesn't bind to your character. It's like all economy based. There was no auction house. It was just freaking. It was just like freaking amazing. Like to sell something, you would just like open up a trade window next to somebody, or like message, hey, I've got wares to sell. And I think I named somebody like Shopkeep. But yeah, that ruined that destroyed that game. That really just destroyed that game for me. And I was just like, you know what, screw this, I'm done. All this grinding, it was just it was just horrible. That just really ruined it for me, because here I found something that was just so much fun, doing that and like knowing people, and like a lot of it was just about knowledge, right? Like, oh, you knew where the spawns, where to camp things, where to find the good loot, then you knew like who to sell it to and get the stuff for crafting, and make, it was really neat. And, after that I was like, no, I'm done. And I have not forgiven Sony. Well, maybe I think not at this point I've forgiven Sony, but for the longest time I didn't forgive Sony for that, because that was just a royal screw up. So yeah, I think off and on, I may have played some multiplayer games. I got into playing Hearthstone. I'm glad to be free of that for a few years. I'll do another video like on why like I don't like being having a free to play game, having control over you. But yes, a game I'll maybe that'll be another topic. I'm making another video. I was able to play that game for free, but but I was paying with my time, and so either they're going to get you for your time and your money. For MMOs, it's both. It's your money and it's your time. So at that point, I was just like, okay, you know, I'm just I'm just done. And then, so I think that I may have just gone through and played. Actually, no, I know what I did. So then, at that point, I had stopped. Humble Bundle was a lot better than it is now. You could get you really could pay $1 and get like a dozen games. It wasn't kind of now where it's like, hey, you have to pay $10. Still cheaper, but it was like dirt cheap. You could pay like $1. And there's some other like indie bundle places that no longer exist that I can't even remember the names of. But I discovered the world of indie gaming on PC, where it's like, hey, I don't have to have like a high powered PC. I can play all these games and all this stuff. And actually, and I want to say, and I gave my timelines wrong, but around that time too, and I think I mentioned this before, that I gave up. That's right, I gave that up. But like, I would occasionally play things like Warframe and other, I don't know, just other like PC. I can't even think of the names, and I apologize. Other like PC multiplayer games, like with some certain buddies, but I gave that up. I got into Diablo 2. I need to buy that legit, because I played like a bootlegged version. Yes, because you couldn't even buy it from BattleNet. I don't even have that anymore. So maybe I'll get like the old school version of Diablo 2 now that you can install BattleNet and play that on my deck. But anyways, that was a point where I took a break from games. Really, only like games I could really just jump in and out. Yeah, so that's why I'd got like luckily I'd gotten into indies before then. So let me go back to that. So indies, it was great, because for me, like, so the biggest thing I don't like is disappointment in a game. Paying something month on month end, and also buying for the full game. I mean, that's just a crime. So I kind of learned, and it made me just like, really hesitant, kind of wanting to spend money on games unless I see value. And that's kind of like, I'll get into, kind of get into that for Evercade. But yeah, that started me on my quest for indie games, buying bundles, lots of value in bundles. They were even better than they are now. Looking at Steam sales and realizing I could, take a chance on a game for a couple bucks. And then I didn't have all the commitments of being online. I could play it at my own pace, get more enjoyment than AAA games, because I could, for like the price of a AAA game, I could get like 10 indie games. And then I wouldn't have to worry about, oh, you spent $60 in this game, now you've got to complete the whole thing, and you can't sell it because it's digital. I hate that feel. I just hate that feeling of being like locked into a game and just wanting to get the value of it, and not be disappointed. And so yeah, so that was my quest for indie games, and then fast forward to something like Evercade. So yeah, so this is like this game, for instance, for me, I I love classic games like this. I love indie games. I play them at my own speed. It's not online. I don't have to worry about the games being like so broken. I don't have to worry about them being DLC to death. If it is something like Dead Cells where there's DLC, yeah, at most it's like $5 per DLC, and you're getting a lot of extra content. It's not like something like Street Fighter where you're paying for like cosmetics of the yin yang, unlocking characters, things that should have been included with the game for free. No, are included in the price. I don't like games that nickel and dime like that. That really turns me off more than anything. When I buy a game, I want the complete game with optional DLC. I don't want all this other nonsense that you have to pay to unlock for. That's just, it just gives me the feeling of playing a cheap mobile game. I just don't like that. So I just avoid that type of thing. Another thing too is, if a game requires something like an EA launcher or something else, I just don't play it, or some type of DRM. There's no game that requires that I would have to play. That's something else that ruins for me. Again, another video. But yeah, it's just over. So to kind of sum things up, it's just with MMOs, it's just the same grind, the same quests, the same disappointment. And initially, I thought like these worlds would be like ever changing and all that, but really, you're buying the base game and you're paying a monthly fee just to go through the storyline. So it's like you're paying the price in some cases of a AAA game plus a monthly fee. Wow, how they managed to pull that off. And then when you get to the end, it's like, either that or if you play the free-to-play version, it's just not fun because you just don't get all the features that you should have. It's just like, really? So that's what I was saying at the beginning of the video. You know, these are these are some strong opinions. But you know what though? I'm just glad that I saw that when I was young. You know, definitely, you know, getting burned on the experience, of course. You know, just, you know, saying that, you know, spending time with, you know, family is just way more important. And now, like on an Evercade, there's save states. I have the handheld. I can chill and hang out with the family on the couch. The save comes with me. You know, for the VS on the cart. And I don't have the commitment, so like I can revisit a game like this and play it whenever I want. I can have a save state. I can go back to it whenever I want. I don't have that frustration or that grind. Because initially, why I wanted to play, you know, these MMOs is I thought it was like a never-ending RPG, and they give you the illusion of that. You know, it's really not. It's really not. It's just basically what they've done is they've just tried to just take a role-playing game and put it online and basically make you buy a game and rent it at the same time. At least with Evercade, I'm paying my $20. I'm getting the physical cart. I'm getting the manuals. You know, and I'm getting some really good games that I'm going to enjoy. For me, I get my money's worth, and I think that's important because essentially when you can play ROMs and all that for free, you got to figure out a way to give that to somebody. And so having things being officially licensed, have it being collectible, have it being curated, have somebody doing the work for me, where boom, I can just pop in a cart and play it. Ta-da! I love that. And so between that and just for me having all the games that I have in my Steam library, Steam is so accessible, that really fulfills everything for me. And we got to the end of the game. Wow, that flew by really fast, in a good way. So it was just kind of important. I just wanted to make this video. I know Pete has brought it up on Evercast a few times on MMOs, and I kept saying, "Hey, I'm gonna make a video on it sometime." And I think it was important too for me to put it on my primary channel because it does relate a lot of why I play Evercade, and I feel that this video is mainly, you know, for my listeners, you know, people who are subbed to my channel. With that, if you did find my channel, I can't even talk. If you did find my channel through the YouTube verse, you know, through the algorithm, and you're not subbed, please go ahead and sub to this channel. I'd really appreciate it. And if you do want to show me that you've watched the whole video in its entirety, in the comments below, put "man with a gun." Yep, just put "man with a gun" to let me know that you watched the whole video. And I really do appreciate everyone here that stuck with me through this whole thing. And I just want to say another reason to sub to my channel is every week I do Evercade fan podcast with some good buddies of mine in which I talk everything Evercade related. So you're going to not want to miss it for that. Alrighty. I think I've talked enough. I think I've said what needs to be said. So everyone, thanks so much for watching, and bye-bye.